Hey everybody, how's it going? It's the Daily Shooter, and today I want to talk about putting a red dot on a pistol. Now, here's the thing. This topic always seems to bring out, for me at least, three different groups of people. You have your main hardliners, okay? These are the complete purists. These are the guys who maybe trained in the military a long time ago. They trained on iron sights, they could shoot out to 400 yards, no problem, and they didn't even see really a need to put a red dot on a rifle, let alone a pistol. So you're not going to change their mind. They are completely stuck in their ways, have been shooting for a long time. This is what they're comfortable with, and this video is not going to be for them because I'm not even going to try and change their mind. They are complete hardline purists, and that's fine. That's how they're good at shooting. That's how they're comfortable. Then you have the other two groups. You have the skeptics, okay? The skeptics, those people who have seen information online and they've kind of thought yes and no, and they've seen good and bad, and you know, they're not exactly sure, and so the thought process just kind of gets put in the back of their mind. They just keep shooting with their iron sights, just the way that it's always been, and that's probably the way that they're going to stay until they hear something a little bit more definitive that actually changes their mind. Then you have the people that are completely open to the idea. They like the idea of a red dot. You know, they thought about it, they thought about buying it, maybe they've been hesitant simply because of the price, but as far as putting a red dot on their pistol goes, they're completely open to the idea. This video is going to be intended for those last two groups, the skeptics and the people that are completely open to the idea. I'm going to give you guys the good, the bad, the ugly, and my personal opinion on how I feel about it, what I think about using it, and you know, again, some of the pluses and minuses. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, the red dot optic that I'm using right here is a Trijicon RMR Type 07. Okay, this is the one that has the 6.5 MOA dot in it, and it's a little bit larger dot than one you might be used to if you're somebody who's used a red dot on a rifle, who's used to maybe a 2 MOA, a 1 MOA, even a 3 MOA dot. This is a 6.5 MOA dot, meaning that it'll cover approximately, okay, because I say approximately because 1 MOA is more like 1.047 inches, not just a standard 1 inch, but it covers approximately 6.5 inches at 100 yards, okay? So that's actually, that's quite a bit out at 100 yards what this thing will cover. But it's great for up close work, it's very fast, and this is the adjustable version, so on the left and right sides of the optic, I can adjust it for brightness. So I want you guys to know what experience I have with what optic before we actually get started here. I want to start by talking about some of the negatives, okay? Some of the downsides that people have heard. One of the downsides that people have heard or talked about is the fact that maybe it'll take a little bit extra training to go from using standard iron sights to a red dot. When you press the rifle out in front of you, finding that red dot for some people might be difficult. And here's my take on that. If you are completely new to shooting, maybe this is your first pistol, maybe you've had the pistol only for a month, you've taken it to the range a couple times, you're not really a proficient shooter yet at all. Well, here's the thing. I think iron sights and red dot both are going to be difficult for you because you want to have that time to train. And I do suggest that you train on both because we'll get to it in a little while here, but I think that you should have both on your pistol, especially if it's a defensive firearm. So when you hear people say, look, there's a little bit of a training curve, I think that really only applies to somebody who is a newer shooter, somebody who's not proficient on their firearm yet. Because if you are proficient with your firearm, you're somebody who has a little bit of experience with it. You've gone to the range, maybe you've taken a class or two, but you can go out there and you can hit the target when you want to. Maybe your groups aren't super tight, but still you hit the target every time you try. Those people already know, okay? It's become habit where you put your firearm. So when I go like this, okay, and I bring the firearm up in front of me, I don't have to think about it. When I look, that red dot is already right there in my screen. And that's because, you know, with a little bit of shooting comes that just kind of automatic thing where you put the gun out in front of you. Now here's the thing. When people say, well, it takes a little bit of time to find the dot, okay? Well, guess what? It also takes a little bit of time to learn how to line up that front sight post with the rear notch. Okay, here's the thing, the only difference in that and why this bad thing isn't so bad. When you bring the pistol out in front of you and you're using iron sights, okay, a lot of people are focusing on that front sight. But if you're focusing on the front sight and not really paying attention to where the rear sight is, you could be off by quite a bit, especially if your target is, you know, beyond 10 yards. So you have to practice either way. I don't think it's a downside. And yeah, you have to train with it. But if you have any experience on your pistol at all and you know where it's going when you put it out in front of you, you're gonna find that dot. So that is one of the downsides that people have mentioned that I don't really think is a downside. Now, another downside that I see a lot of people talk about on the internet is the cost. And that's actually one that I can kind of get behind. You know, a Trijicon RMR like this one right here is going to cost you more than $500 unless you can find one that's used. But typically it's going to be $500 and more. Now, there are a lot of other less expensive dots on the market. You know, there's some great ones by Vortex. You can go with the Burris Fastfire 2. You know, the only thing with those is they're a little bit less tough than the RMR. If you ask me, the RMR is just the toughest out of all of them. This glass is extremely thick. The housing is nice and thick. It's just a tough little red dot. So yeah, I get that. It can be a little bit expensive. You're gonna have to make an investment in your pistol in order to put something like this on it. Now, one thing that I've seen from some people is that they don't want to have any slide work done. And I get that. You know, this right here is an Alpha Shooting Sports slide. It has the RMR cutout on it. And that's one of the things that, you know, you could go with, but again, it's a little bit more of an expensive option. So for those people that maybe don't have the money but still want to put a red dot on their pistol, there are other ways that you can do that. There's different mounts that will insert into the dovetail of your pistol and allow you to mount just about any optic on it. So it's kind of like a universal mount, and that'll slide into the dovetail and replace your rear sight. The only downside that I see to that is that in a lot of cases, not every case, because there are some red dots and some different dovetails that will actually come with iron sights, is if you insert one of those universal mounts into the rear of your pistol, you're losing that rear sight. So if for some reason the optic goes down, guess what? You're kind of SOL because you don't have a rear sight to use to kind of align with the front sight, and it could lead to some serious accuracy issues. So that is a downside. Price, cost. Now, another downside to having a red dot on your pistol is the fact that most red dots, not all, some use solar, but most red dots require some sort of battery. And as you all know, batteries, they die, right? They go dead after a certain period of time. There's also the elements that can affect your battery, the heat, the cold. I mean, your optic might just go down on its own. So let's say you have the pistol pressed out, you're looking down at that red dot, and all of a sudden it just disappears. You know, something happened internally, the battery went bad, one of the connectors went bad. Whatever the case is, this is an electronic component, and electronic components can fail. So that is obviously a downside, but there's a way to mitigate that. One of the ways to mitigate that is to make sure that you have some type of backup sight, just like on a rifle. Okay, you're using a red dot on a rifle, that red dot goes down, you should have a set of flip-ups that co-witness with that red dot. Well, you can also get, you know, different sights that co-witness with the red dot on your pistol. So you're out the range, or, you know, even in a defensive situation, that red dot goes out, you should be able to transition to those iron sights, no problem. These ones right here are Mariglows. They're really nice. They kind of fit up in the lower third of the optic. And so if that red dot goes out on me, I can simply look for that front sight post again and get on target. So it is a downside, but it's mitigated or even corrected by adding suppressor height sights. Now, with all those negative things being said, I still think that a red dot on your pistol is the way to go. I think this is the option of the future. I think that most people will start putting red dots on their rifle come the next 3, 4, even 5 years. You're gonna see them on there. It's not even gonna be a big deal. It's just like when rifles started transitioning really heavily over to red dots. Okay, you had a lot of skeptics in the beginning, a lot of people who weren't sure about it. Those people saw more and more people using them effectively, and then those people that were skeptical started coming around to it, okay? I think it's a good thing, but why is that? Well, here's the thing. You can't beat the #1 fact of why a red dot on your pistol is a good thing. It is fast. It is very fast. It is fast and effective. Basically, when you punch that rifle out, or excuse me, that pistol, man, I'm so used to talking about rifles. When you punch that pistol out and you look down the sights right here, wherever that red dot is where your bullet's going. So instead of getting them on target, getting things lined up, making sure that you have equal coverage left or right on your iron sights, it doesn't matter if the dot is at the top of the optic, if the dot's at the bottom or left or right of the optic, where it honestly could feel like maybe you're not pointing your target. The red dot allows you to basically just put a dot where you want to shoot, pull the trigger, and that's where the bullet's going to go. Now, obviously, there is a little bit of parallax, and that's something to consider. Parallax is greater as the target gets closer. But the parallax on something like the Trijicon RMR is so minimum that you wouldn't be off that far from what you're actually trying to hit. So if you're 3 to 7 yards away from something, right, and you push your pistol out to take that shot, and let's say you're aiming at the vital organs right here, heart and lungs, right, and you take that shot and your parallax is off just a little bit, your shot is only going to be off a few inches, 2 or 3 inches. So if you're making sure that you aim where you want to aim and then you take that shot, you're still going to hit in that general area. So parallax, even though it's something to consider, I don't think is that much of an issue, especially with a red dot like this. As you move further out, let's say that you're taking some of those further shots, 25 yards, right? There's somebody who's shooting at you, and you need to take that accurate shot at 25 yards. Parallax is not going to be an issue at that point, in which this is going to help you be extremely fast because you see the threat, you punch this thing out there, and it doesn't matter where your irons are. Don't even sweat the irons. Like, don't worry about finding that front sight post. Don't worry about looking at the rear sights. You see that dot on target, you squeeze the trigger, and that's it. Okay, that's one of the nice things. It's fast, they are accurate, they help you get on target, get on point, and you're gonna do it faster than somebody with iron sights, generally speaking. Obviously, you know, not everybody out there is Jerry Michalek, right? But even Jerry Michalek, he's, you know, using red dots. He's using red dots on his pistol these days. You know, he's an older guy who saw the benefits, and he is, you know, the world record holder in speed shooting. So if he's using a red dot, I mean, that tells you right there he believes that it's faster as well. Now, another positive benefit to having a red dot on your pistol is that it increases your ability to use the pistol as a tool in low light conditions. So let's say that you're using this for home defense. It's kind of dark around your house. There's a little bit of ambient lighting, right? And maybe you do have night sights. Those night sights are out there, they're easy to see, but you still have the issue with finding that front sight post or getting proper alignment. And they glow, but they're not stupid bright, right? You can see them, which is nice. It's definitely a benefit. I actually have night sights on pretty much every pistol. But with a red dot, you can really make those fine adjustments to get it just at the right brightness level to where it's really in that sweet spot where you bring this up and you can see your target and you can see that red dot and you can put shots on range a lot more effective than just with night sights. Now, another positive aspect to having a red dot on your pistol is the fact that it is adjustable for windage and elevation. Most pistols, unless they're considered target pistols, don't have those fine adjustments. Some will have adjustments for windage by kind of sliding over the rear sight, which can be kind of a pain in the butt. Or maybe you're lucky enough to have something like a Ruger SR9, which is actually adjustable for windage and elevation. Still, it's not easy. You know, you have to adjust the rear sight, kind of slide over the front sight. It can be a pain in the butt. These ones right here are not really adjustable at all. You know, the front sight post is staked in there, and then the rear sight, it would be too difficult to kind of move that over and do it in a way that would be really productive. So if you have a red dot, you feel like you're shooting low and left, but maybe, you know, this is just how you shoot, it's how you've shot forever. You could actually take that windage and elevation, make that fine adjustment to where you're actually shooting dead center. So having that windage and elevation kind of adds something to the overall sight itself. Another great thing about the red dot sight on your pistol is the sight picture. You really get to open your eyes, you really get to see what's going on around you. You're not so stuck on that tiny little itty bitty front sight post, you know, or kind of getting your focus mixed between the sight post and your target, that maybe one's blurry, the other's not, and you're kind of maybe going between the two. With this red dot right here, I can have a nice clear picture of my red dot and everything beyond it. The great thing about that is it opens up your peripherals, okay? So you can see what's going on to the left and to the right of you, even though, and again, I've never been in a fighting situation before where my life is dependent on me killing somebody, but I can tell you this, what I've heard in training and from people who are instructors is that you tend to get tunnel vision anyway. But still, having the ability to have those, you know, your peripheral vision open and exposed, to have the target in focus as well as the red dot in focus instead of worrying about where that front sight post is I think going to be a major advantage, especially if you're in a gunfight. Now, the last thing I want to talk about, and I might end up doing a video on this one specific topic alone, let me know in the comments section if that's something that you think I should do, but I want to talk about co-witnessing night sights with a red dot. Because when I first installed these, I had the red dot on the pistol and then I already had some Ameriglow night sights on there. There was people down in the comments section saying that they felt like it was going to be a distraction. They felt like when you had the pistol in front of you, if you have night sights on there with a tritium insert in it, you're going to get that kind of distraction and confusion between having the two dots in front of you. And I saw where they were coming from completely, and I was curious to see whether or not they were right. You know, I'm not going to tell you guys something I know something if I don't. I'll just tell you, I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not an expert on this. I'm just giving you guys my personal experience on it. So after having this on there for a while now and going out shooting at night, I can tell you that having night sights on there doesn't distract me at all. There's two reasons for that. One, because the front night sight is extremely dim. Okay, it's not extremely dim. These are actually pretty good, but still, compared to the red dot, it's dim. And so when I have it out in front of me, my eyes just honestly, they pick up the first thing that I see, and that's that really nice bright red dot. Okay, so I have that out in front of me, and I see the red. Also, they're two different colors. You know, you have the green from the tritium, and then you have the red for the red dot. You know you have a red dot on here, your mind is going to immediately go for that red. It notices that red, or at least mine does. So when I put it out there and I'm doing some night shooting, testing out a flashlight or whatever the case is, my mind automatically goes for that red on that red dot, and I start shooting. So to me, it doesn't seem to be a distraction at all. Again, let me know if I should make a video about that. I'll do some shooting. We'll see if we can see the different perspectives. Now remember, this video is based on my opinion, using my pistol and my red dot. Your experience might be a little bit different. Plus, I always forget something in these videos. It's just a fact. It's gonna happen. I can't remember all the talking points. I don't use a script. So if there's something that you think is a positive or a negative to using a red dot, leave it down in the description box. Everybody can learn from everybody's opinions. It's always wise to get more than one opinion. So if this is something that you're contemplating, something you're thinking about, make sure that you read these opinions, you take them with a grain of salt, you move on to the next opinion, and if possible, you try it for yourself. Go to a range that rents pistols, see if they have one that maybe has a red dot on it, try it, see what you think. Don't just go off of what I say. I personally think the red dot on the pistol is going to be the way of the future. It's going to be second nature, just like it is now with a rifle. You know, everybody gets a rifle, they slap some type of optic on it, and they're good to go. You know, you always want to have the backup, like I was saying before, but still, I think it's the way of the future. The negatives can be, or the downsides, those can be mitigated just by adding certain things or even practicing. There's downsides to iron sights as well, but I think the positives, the upsides, are much greater than just using iron sights alone. So I like having a red dot on my pistol, and I think that you would too. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'll put a link down to for the slide and the optic, which I got from Optics Planet, down in the discount, and a discount code down in the comment section. So if you guys are interested, you can go check one of those out. Or I said comment section, the description box. It's very, very hot in here. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching. Please like, subscribe. Have a great day.